is 9:30 Tuesday morning. That means it's time for KCIM Sports Rewind, the 2024 edition. So, we're brand new coming out of the chute here with all sorts of energy and excitement, right?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that being 2024 and, rebranding ourselves as brand new for 2024. Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't happening. It's the same old show that you've known for all this time. So we're going to talk a lot about the Bowl Challenge here coming up in just a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a trivia question I got for you. But first of all, I want to lead off, Casey, you had a nice interview online with Kayla Vanderheiden, who's going to play at Morningside.
Yeah, I did. I think what I liked most about it wasn't the interview, but just the uppour of support that it got online. I thought a lot of people really intrigued about him going to Morningside. Tommy Fitzsimmons is going there too. Yep. So, two area kids going to go to a really traditional powerhouse in NAIA football. I didn't really get to talk to him. I got the sense he was going to play offensive line while he was up there. He didn't really say. But, I think a good thing for Caleb, because I think he knew going into the season that, I could go somewhere to play, but wasn't really 100% sure. And then he said in the interview after, he wasn't thinking about during the season going anywhere. But after the last game they played, he was like, I can't. I have to. I'm going to miss this too much. So, I think he's a great kid.
Yes.
Not really knowing much about him until this year because, he didn't really play much up until this year for his senior year. But, getting to go play at Morningside, I think a traditional powerhouse in NAIA football is a really high honor.
So what drew him to Morningside over the other ones?
I think he just said the fact that, and this is funny because he said he has family all over,
right?
But he said that just being out on his own is a big thing,
right?
And so I got the sense that he didn't really have much people up in Sioux City, and that he felt like that was a good place, and he gets the chance to be out on his own, and plus, the just Morningside being a powerhouse that they are, the coaches there a long time, they know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. I think that was the main reason why he decided to go there.
Couple of years removed from a national championship, too. They got that tradition up there.
They do. They've won a lot of national titles, and that is, one of the elite programs.
This used to be a real pipeline in this area to programs like Morningside and BV and some of those programs. It hasn't been as much in the past few years.
Yeah, no, I would say Morningside's still been fairly strong.
A lot of kids going up to Northwestern.
Has really come on, but Dort's come on as well. BV, though, has always been strong. I kind of joked with somebody the other day. I'm like, when I first came here 20 years ago, it was like BV and Simpson were kind of the hot spots. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you started to see Northwestern and Morningside and then Dort a little bit and some of the GPAC schools come in. And it seemed like BV and Simpson kind of faded a little bit. And then all of a sudden now you've seen kind of a resurgence of BV and Simpson type kids. But we're also seeing still that good flow of kids up to the GPAC from this area.
And I think kids are starting to realize, though, that the NAIA, it's separate from the NCAA.
Yep.
But the equivalent of the size of the school is like a Division III or a small Division II school.
Yep.
So I think kids are starting to realize that there's big-time football being played in NAIA. And then the rules are a little bit different, too, I know eligibility-wise, because I have a friend that's playing up at Mount Marty in Yankton, South Dakota, and he played 3 years at Iowa Central, and he's now going on to his third year up there, and still has another year of eligibility up there. So
I always wonder where you got all that Mount Marty stuff.
I think the eligibility rules are a little bit different too than what is in the NCAA.
Right. Well, and some of that's probably a COVID year, and then if he redshirted a year and everything. So,
I just know because he mentioned about transferring because he started, I think, the last 2 years he's been up there, and he's like, well, I know that if I wanted to stay up there, I could transfer to walk on in South Dakota, but he's like, I don't know if I have the eligibility is different, so he wasn't sure if he would I just know that's one of the main reasons why he chose NAIA. Is because, the eligibility is a little bit different than what we see in the NCAA.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of, especially women athletes, female athletes going up to Northwestern playing basketball. I mean, their whole backcourt was just local.
Maddie Jones and Emily Danner there for a while, and Paige Danner, of course, had been there before that. And then we've had a lot of track kids go up there, too, especially from South Central Calhoun over the years. But, I did, you bring up the Kayla Vanderheiden interview and stuff. I think a great place to go is that College Corner on our website at sports.1380kcim.com. Every kid that we find out is verbally committed or signing to go somewhere. We've got interviews up. I know that, like DJ Vanami going to Iowa and We've got some of those older interviews. Some of those guys recently signed. Evan Adams at Kemper, recently on National Signing Day signed, and I know people were reaching out to me saying, "Hey, are you going to go interview them?" And it's like, we already actually did. Those interviews were up, weeks ago and stuff. So they're still there. You can go back and check them out. But it's kind of a nice way of kind of looking and seeing where everybody from the area is going.
Yeah, just because it's not showing up on the front page, you got to click and go a little bit deeper to find some of those interviews and things.
Especially even kids going out of state too. Kate Von Drake going out to Wyoming to play volleyball. The talent just isn't staying locally. I mean, a lot of kids. I always thought that to be a special athlete here, to get recognized, to go out of state to play somewhere, it just shows how good you are.
Yeah. And the Kate one I'm glad you brought that up. That's an interesting one because she's going to a program that's really pretty new.
Yeah.
I think they're entering like year 2 or year 3. Yeah. It's going to be, where they're at, where she's going. So that's pretty cool. She wants to go be a part of something that's building.
Yeah. It's kind of like the interesting interview to me was Bree Beckman playing beach volleyball. Down at, was it Grand
Arizona Christian.
Was it?
Arizona Christian.
Yeah. So, we just had her on.
Yeah, she was just on Rewind not too long ago. So these kids are out doing some really interesting stuff.
And this is just me getting old, folks, but we had the 2 guys that went and did the rodeo stuff up at Iowa Central, and I'm both ESAC kids, and I'm drawing blanks.
Yeah, one of them
Cam
was
Schrader, I think, and I'm trying to think of who
I can't remember the other one was, but I know Cam.
Yeah, so, but just cool to see those kind of things.
Yeah, when you thought for sure basketball was the future, it's like, no, rodeo. And that's just, it's kind of fun to get new information and new things that these kids are out there doing. So, all right, so how bad is the state of Iowa for football? Those bowl games for Iowa State and Iowa, I mean, 2 totally different performances for the Iowa teams, but not a good showing for the state.
No. And I'll let Casey talk a little bit more about it. But
I think that Iowa State ran into a really good Memphis team.
They did.
I think I thought going in that Iowa State had pretty decent. Granted, I'm not a big Iowa State supporter, but I thought going in that Iowa State had a pretty decent shot of losing that game. Memphis's quarterback is the real deal. He's probably one of the better non-Power 5 quarterbacks in the country, and one of the ones that's not talked about a lot. He was from, I think he's from like Denton, Texas, so he grew up playing big time football. And then Iowa. Oh, man. Oh, Joey Labus is so bad. No, not Joey Labus. Deacon Hill is so bad. I mentioned Joey Labus right there because me and Will were talking yesterday, and I go, I wonder if Joey Labus wouldn't have entered the transfer portal if Iowa would have at least played him a little bit when Deacon Hill was playing so bad during the regular season, and then we could have thrown Joey Labus out there. But the true freshman didn't look too bad. I mean, he's more mobile.
Yep.
I say this in a nice way. He didn't look like a sack of potatoes sitting back there. I mean, when pressure was coming, he knew to run the football. I mean, he ended up being our leading rusher, and he only played 11 minutes of the game.
Right, yeah. Tennessee did adjust to him a little bit after seeing him, but he really caused them some problems in the first few plays.
And I thought when he threw the football, everything was on time, on schedule, but I think just the nerves, he rushed himself a little bit. So I think there's enough to develop there. I worry about the offense, and I think a lot. And I respect Iowa fans because I am one, but I think a lot of Iowa fans think that whatever we change at offensive coordinator, we're going to all of a sudden become like that, one of the best offensive teams in the country, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Where it's going to take a couple years for us to get any better because who we could sign, who could come in as OC might not be much better than what Brian was. So.
Well, and we've talked about it here before. Everybody keeps saying it's the OC, and I'm not saying Brian Ferentz. I think the offense was worse under him than it has been under previous OCs. But that offense has not been really great since probably Brad Banks was there. And
he was a runner-up for the Heisman.
Yeah, so. I mean, Kirk's offense is Kirk's offense, and unless they change the style, I don't think changing who's calling the plays, it's going to matter some. But I don't know unless you change the style if it's going to matter a ton.
Yeah, my thing is really I would almost bet it's going to be Paul Crisp because everything points to Kirk now wanting to change the offense, and Paul Crisp and Kirk are really good friends.
Right.
I would love for them to go out and get Grubb from Washington just for him being, a Kingsley area kid. Right. He grew up played quarterback at BV, but I think the only way you get a kid like that or a guy like that is that you have to promise him that when Kirk retires, he becomes the head coach.
Right. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did Kirk not recently come out and say whoever they hire, and it's going to be in January, whoever they announce, is going to have to run Iowa's system because Iowa does what Iowa does.
That I'm not 100% sure on, but that's kind of the way Kirk is. He's kind of an old stubborn man back there. So
yeah. So
check this out. Chris Hasselt tweeted once again, season stats for Deacon Hill: 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 11 fumbles, 24 sacks, 48% completion percentage. I mean, it was just absolutely horrendous.
There's a reason why you didn't stay at Wisconsin. And I'm going to bring it up. I told John earlier this morning I wouldn't, but, Iowa's going to finish the year 10-4, and congrats on a 10-win season. You don't get those very often in college football. Not Iowa, I'm saying anybody. So that's special. But 0-3 against teams that are going to finish ranked in the AP Top 25, and they're going to have been beaten 92 to nothing in the 3 games against teams that are ranked. Yeah. And my team, I love them. We were in the Big Ten West. It's not a good. It was not a good division this year, and
which is crazy because the Big Ten West did better in bowl games than what the Big Ten East did.
I know. Part of that was matchups.
I know.
Yeah, part of that was matchups.
Who was Bowling Green was who Minnesota took on.
But Northwestern beat Utah.
That one shocked me. I have to say. Yeah, and the Big Ten sitting right now at 5-4, depending on how Michigan does overall in bowls. So SEC finished up 5-4. Pac-12 is going to go 5-3 with Washington heading into the championship game. So. Those are kind of the power conferences that most people pay attention to. ACC went 5-6 this year, but I kind of felt all year that the Pac-12 was probably top to bottom the best conference in the country, and I think the Big 12 or Big 10 probably proved that they may have been slightly better than what I thought.
What people thought. Yeah. I don't know. I think you look at matchups,
matchups matter. And
Minnesota played Bowling Green.
Yes.
I mean, besides Northwestern playing Utah, I don't really think any of the Big Ten West teams really played anybody super good. And I mean, Ohio State, you're down Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison, and you play a really good Missouri team. I think it's going to be really good next year too, because a lot of their guys are going to be back.
Yeah, that'll make Devin Dembinski really happy. But the opt-out things and all that stuff.
Well, look at the Orange Bowl.
Impacts.
I mean, Georgia and Florida State. All those players opted out, and it was just a miserable game. And even Kirby Smart afterwards said, what are we doing? We're ruining this sport. I mean, this should never happen. And they were like, well, how do you fix something like that? Well, to me, I like you expand the playoffs. You put at least 12 teams in the playoffs.
Right.
And then, then you make the other bowl games that are going to be out there. If you want to host a postseason game, make it attractive for them. Just quit those stupid alliances and get some really good matchups going on and make it worth the team's while.
Well, and I think, too, part of it is that bowl games used to matter, and we've become a society now that we're individualized rather than, I love the comment from a Georgia kid. He's like, of course I was going to play. Yeah, I'm going to go play in the NFL next year. But he goes, I owed it to my fans. I owed it to my teammates. I owed it to my coaches. I owed it to my school. And he goes, I'm playing the game of football. I get a chance to play another football game. Why would I not play? It makes no sense to me. But we have such a large portion of our society today that sits here and says, well, bowl games don't matter because you got to worry about, if you get hurt, you might lose money. Well, there's more to life than money. Go play the game. I understand it to a point, but it's kind of frustrating. And you're killing a sport that is the reason why you're going to make that money.
But the Tennessee Volunteers came in with this kid that was the number one recruit, by the way, number one quarterback that came into Tennessee. Boy, did he look good. He looked athletic. He looked in total control.
He looked athletic. There's stuff to fix, I think, at least. I wasn't impressed with him throwing the football as much, but I was impressed with his mobility and how he was able to manipulate the pocket. I thought that he knew when to scramble, he knew when to throw the football. I think he struggled with Iowa's defense. And granted, making your first start against a defense the caliber of Iowa, I think is tough. Joe Evans had 4 sacks on him,
right?
So I think he looked impressive. I might be biased on it a little bit, but I think he's definitely going to be the future in Knoxville. Which is one of my stadiums I dream to go to someday. Rocky Top, but I think he's going to be good. He didn't impress me as much as I think other people liked him, but. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, that's coming from an Iowa fan.
Yeah.
I think both Iowa and Iowa State looked slow. Memphis looked really fast against Iowa State. Yeah. So did Tennessee.
I think what Iowa struggled with was the tempo,
right?
Because you don't see that in the Big Ten. With how fast Tennessee was going, you don't see that in the Big Ten. And I can't remember who I told. I said I think Iowa's going to. That's probably one thing you can practice on that, but to see it is a completely different thing. And I think the Iowa really struggled with the tempo Tennessee was playing at.
Yeah, and when you practice it, you're not going up against guys in practice that run it regularly, so you're not going to see it. You're right. I agree with you 100%, John. It's kind of the old school Big Ten thing sometimes is that you get into those games against the teams that can really run, and you got to match up speed-wise with them, and sometimes that's difficult to do.
That's like the old Miami Hurricanes, man. They always they were just so athletic and so fast with everything they did. They just left everybody in their wake.
Yep.
It's just crazy. So, all right, so I got a trivia question here for you. So no SEC team in the championship game. Can I throw in a hallelujah here? I think.
And even with Texas losing, because if you noticed last night, the ESPN announcers kept talking about Texas being a SEC type team already, so they were already trying to throw them into the SEC mix.
Basically, owns the SEC.
Well, I mean, the SEC and the ESPN just worked out a deal, so a lot of the SEC games are going to be on ESPN next year. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so no SEC team. When is the last time? When's the last team outside of the SEC to win a national championship? And when's the last time it went back-to-back? Which teams did that one? So it's a two-part question. Who was the last team?
I'm going to say Ohio State.
That's the last team
outside. That was the last team outside of the Big Ten to win one?
Nope.
No.
It was outside Ohio State. Ohio State. Are you not counting?
I'm trying
Clemson.
to
last non-SEC team.
Yeah, Clemson. Yeah, Clemson. They were the ACC.
There you go. Yep. Clemson was the last time. And how about back-to-back championships that didn't go to USC or didn't go to the SEC? That's a little trickier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have to go back to when USC was winning titles back in the early 2000s?
No. It's been since then.
It has.
Yeah, that was back in 2003, 4, and 5, I think it was. But they had one vacated in 2004, I think it was. So.
Well, Texas won one in 2005.
Yeah.
I know that.
Beat USC.
Yep. It's been since then.
Okay.
But boy, you blank out on some of this stuff.
Because I'm thinking of early 2010s, like Auburn won, Alabama won in 2009.
LSU.
Yeah. Man, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Give you some time to think about it. We're going to thank our sponsor, of course. It is St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services. If you want to get better shape in 2024, tell you what, talk to these guys. They've got a great workout program for you. And if you're an athlete of any age, talk to them. They can get you in better shape than you've ever been for your whatever sport you happen to play. It's St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
It is KCIM Sports Rewind, kind of rehashing the bowls as we get set for the second half of the winter sports season here locally. We've got those games coming up tonight. Boone at Carroll High. And Casey, you're going to be out there for that one a little bit later on KKRL. So tune in. It's once again games going on for the rest of the week as well. So our trivia question was, of course, the first half was, what was the last non-SEC school to win a national championship? Clemson, 2018. Yep. The last time it was back-to-back was 2013 and 2014.
Florida State and Ohio State.
Florida State and Ohio State. There you go.
Jameis Winston won a Heisman, and I have some bias towards Florida State because my dad's parents grew up about 45 minutes from the stadium, so my mom and dad grew up Florida State fans. So I should have known that.
How did you become Texas and Iowa then?
I don't know. Well, we lived in Iowa. My dad's mom and dad and my dad grew up in Iowa, but after all the kids graduated high school, they moved down there. So it's weird. Our family's weird. We got Florida State, Iowa, Texas, everybody.
Yeah.
Notre Dame in there.
So before Florida State and Ohio State, you got to go back to 2005 Texas, 2004 USC.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
That was the last time two back-to-back non-SEC teams won the national championship.
Bringing that up, it's hard to believe that it was 10 years ago that Jameis Winston was the quarterback of that Florida State team.
Won Heisman.
Yeah, it's just Doesn't seem like it was that long. And it doesn't seem like it was 5 years ago that Clemson won their last national championship.
Dabo's come nowhere close since. I mean, really, that program has deteriorated a little bit. They're not the Clemson team they used to be.
Yeah, as soon as their coordinators left, they kind of Venables, and I can't think of whoever's at Virginia
Venables
right
only
now.
Been gone for a couple of years. Yeah, but losing those, and I think losing Trevor Lawrence. If you look at the run they had really great quarterbacks.
Go to Boyd, to Watson, and then to Lawrence.
And then to Lawrence. They had 3 great quarterbacks in a row, and you haven't seen that level of quarterback play out of them since. So
who was the coach of that Ohio State team?
Urban Meyer.
Yeah. Your favorite.
Yeah.
I say that sarcastically.
I do like him as an analyst. I just think as a coach he's what he got away with years ago would be legal today.
He didn't get away with it in Jacksonville with the pros. They're like, I've had it with this guy.
Yeah,
and he didn't even last a season there.
Yeah, no, he's a great college coach, but there's reasons why that they were as successful as what they were.
If you haven't watched the documentary that they did on Netflix with when he was at Florida, I'd very much recommend it.
Right. I've heard it's very good. I haven't had a chance, but you talking about all the guys who were arrested and some of the really bad charges.
Percy Harvin on there.
Yes.
Aaron Hernandez.
Tim Tebow, Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the bowl challenge here. There's a little smack talk going on in the text. We have a group text with everybody going on there. And so I happened to comment after the first opening round. Incoming Carroll Mayer, Jerry Fleshner, lapping everybody. I mean, he got the first 12 games right. And he throws the comment out there in the group text of when does the challenge part of this come in? And I'm thinking, ooh, a little Mayor smack talk. Sick burn, dude.
Yeah, and that was a good one. Yeah, he's sitting 16-4. And if this was the way I did things like 4 or 5 years ago, he would have wrapped up the championship already. Because I used to go just based off of overall records. Yeah. So if you got more games right, but I had people complaining that's not the way to do it. So we started putting a point total thing on it. So Jerry is currently sitting in first place. I'll just run through and then
every win was 5 points.
Yeah, every win was 5 points, and then you got to the 2 semifinal games, and those were 15 points, and the championship game is going to be worth 25 points. So Jerry right now sitting in first place. He is 16-4 overall. He's got 90 points, and his champion Washington is still alive.
That shocks me.
Yes.
He went Washington.
He went Washington. So
the way they looked last night.
Yeah, absolutely. Got three guys sitting in a tie for second place right now, and all of them have a chance to win it. If Michigan wins the national title, it'll come down to the total points scored to determine our champion in that game, because you got Eric McCullough right now with 75 points. He has got Michigan winning it. You've got Doug Waniger, who I'm going to give Cal Waniger the credit because Doug told me that Cal filled out most of the games for him. But he's got Michigan winning it, and he's sitting in second place with 75 points.
All right, get to the most important one.
And then the guy sitting across from us over here, John Ryan, also has 75 points, and he has Michigan in the championship, winning the championship as well. So those are the potential winners, depending on who wins. It's going to be one of those 4. Here's the rest of the standings. Nick Brinks has 70 points. He has Washington as his champion. Nathan Cones, last year's toilet trophy winner, the last place guy, had a good
year this year. Looking at the trophy in the window right now.
He's 12-8 this year, so guaranteed that he's going to do well. He's got Michigan winning. He's got 70 points. Chris Moore has got Washington winning it with 65 points right now on the year. Corey McCarville, I told you, Johnny, missed like his first 6 games, but he ends up going like 9-11. So he's been on a tear of late. But he's got Washington winning it. He's sitting right now at 65 points. Isaac Schaefer's over at Arweva has got Washington winning, and he's got 65 points. Tom Hawkamp has got 60 points. He's got Washington winning it. Ryan Steinkamp sitting in 60 with 60 points. He's got, though, Alabama winning it. Jim Molitor is sitting with 60 points with Washington winning it. Sean Burks sitting at 60 points with Alabama winning it. KC sitting at 60 points, but he's got Texas winning it. Nate Wall, last year's champion, he is sitting at 55 points, and he had Alabama winning it. Jeff Honnold sitting at 45 points, and he had Alabama winning it. Brian Kay sitting with 40 points, and he had Alabama winning it. Todd Danner currently sitting at 75 points. So he needs to be moved up. He's got Washington winning it. You also have Austin Stolk over at Arweva. He's sitting at 40 points with Alabama winning it. Craig Rowetter sitting at 40 points with Alabama winning it. Jeff Storyhunt sitting at 40 points with Alabama winning it. And we won't mention the last place guy.
Oh, there's one person that we haven't mentioned as of yet.
And I am guaranteed last, thanks to Texas not pulling that out last night.
So, here's the dream.
35 points. I'm only 5 points behind everybody else.
Here's the dream scenario for us here at KCIM Sports Rewind is that Michigan wins a low-scoring championship game.
That's because you have the lowest point
I will
total.
win the overall total, so I will have the Champions Trophy.
Yes.
Sports Director Jeff Blankman already guaranteed last place with the toilet trophy. We could have both of them right here in the
studios
together.
That is true.
That's the dream scenario.
We could put them both in the window, and then when people ask, I can say, you have the last place, and I have the first. No.
I'm going to put names on each one of them for the next year.
I told you guys during the break, I said the bad thing is I had a 6-year stretch where I won it like 3 times and finished no worse than third. In the last 2 years, I've now been last and almost last over the last 2 years. Transfer portal's killing me, man, and opt-out, they've been killing me.
It's knowledge is not power when it comes to the transfer portal. So it's going to be fun watching the championship game and all that. But, next year, it's going to be Iowa State's got a ton coming back. Iowa's got their quarterback coming back. So
should have quite a bit coming back.
Yep.
I mean, Luke Lachey announced he was coming back. They expect Caleb Brown to be back next year, which, I mean, he was a big part of our offense down the stretch. Right. I think, get a better offensive coordinator in there, his numbers should tick up a little bit.
Phil Parker, as long as you have him, you'll contend.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Higgins, nation's FBS leading tackler, announced he was coming back, so the defense is always going to be good.
Yeah, but again, it's if they could just put
an offense together,
a better offense, something a little more creative. I mean, it doesn't have to be a world beater. Just go out and be the 60 or 70 or 80th best offense out there, and you're going to go undefeated practically.
One thing I think you got to talk about the coaching job that Kirk's done this year. Granted, the offense was terrible, but I don't know if you guys watched the game. They put together a graphic, and they put the Iowa's within the 5 lowest scoring point game per game teams of the year. All the other teams barely had 3 wins.
Right.
Iowa was the only team on there that had 10 wins.
Were they the only team, though, in the Big Ten West?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
On that, they were the only team in the Big Ten West on that graphic.
See, I heard them say too, like, he should be in contention for Big Ten Coach of the Year. Yes, they got 10 wins, but how do you be a Coach of the Year with that offense?
Didn't beat anybody.
Just with that offense, how do you sit there and watch that offense week after week and say that's our Coach of the Year?
Right.
Yeah. I have nothing against Kirk
Give it to the guy from Northwestern.
Give it to Parker.
I mean, he won the Boyles Award, so I mean, for the nation's top assistant. I mean, he pretty much.
What the guy at Northwestern did this year. I mean, you can give it to Jim Harbaugh too because they're in the national championship game, but.
He wasn't there for
half of the games.
Yeah.
But Northwestern wasn't expected to be any good. Mm-hmm. He takes over late because of the situation that happened up there and what they win 8 games.
Yeah. 7 or 8 or 7.
I think they were 7-5 going into the bowl game. So I think they finished 8-5.
I mean, they going into the year, they haven't won a game on American soil in 2 years or something like that.
Yep.
It was a great season for Northwestern, I would say.
Yeah, they beat Utah?
Beat Utah. So they finished 8-5. I just looked; they were 7-5 going.
Granted, Utah didn't have a lot of their people playing, but still, I think went over one of the teams, the best teams in one of the best conferences is impressive.
All right, so we're cheering for low-scoring Michigan champion, and that's it, right?
With the way Washington looked last night, I would be Michigan. I think Michigan might. If Washington could go touchdown for touchdown. I don't know if Michigan could go touchdown for touchdown with them.
I think Washington definitely better offensively. Yeah,
Michael Penix torched Texas' secondary last night, but I didn't think our secondary played that bad because I think a lot of the deep shots that they took, we had DBs right there, but the ball was just placed, over the shoulder, leading the receiver out of bounds. I mean, there was one where the Texas DB dove to make a pick, tipped it, up in the air, and the Washington receiver caught it in the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, the placement of the balls for Michael Penix last night was incredible.
And he gets it out quick. I know Michigan did an amazing job last night against Milroe, kind of trapping him in the pocket and getting a lot of sacks on him last night. But Penix mobile, but he gets it out quick. Even the deep balls, they don't seem to be in the pocket long. Yeah.
I mean, Texas couldn't get a pass rush on them all night. I mean, when we did, we actually played really good. It's when we came back, but it wasn't pretty for a lot of the game.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out here, and that is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. We're running out of time here pretty quickly, so join us again 9:30 next Tuesday morning right here on 1380 AM, 95.1 FM. It's KCIM Carroll.